The Galactic Security Station's corridors had never seen anything quite like it. Anna walked through the pristine halls with her usual confident stride, but today she wasn't alone. Behind her, in a neat line that defied all known xenobiological behavior patterns, followed 7 Zephyrian cubs, each no bigger than a house cat but possessing the intelligence of a graduate student and the natural weaponry of an apex predator. Commander Helen watched from the observation deck as his human colleague made her way toward the briefing room. The sight would have been amusing if it weren't so unprecedented. Zephyrians were known throughout the galaxy as one of the most independent and territorially aggressive species. Their cubs, in particular, had never been documented forming attachments to any being outside their immediate family unit. Dr. Ana Rodriguez, please report to Security Office 7 immediately. The announcement echoed through the station, causing several alien personnel to freeze mid-step as they witnessed the impossible procession. Ana sighed and changed direction, her 7 small shadows adjusting their formation without missing a beat. The lead cub, distinguished by a silver patch on its crystalline fur, chirped softly, a sound that typically preceded a Zephyrian attack but somehow seemed almost conversational when directed at the human woman. Security Chief Vextar stood, waiting in his office, his forearms crossed in what every species recognized as universal skepticism. The Korthani officer had seen many strange things during his tenure, but nothing quite prepared him for watching a human casually stroll in, followed by creatures that had historically killed anyone who dared approach their young. Explain, Vextar demanded, his translator rendering his gravelly voice into perfect standard. Ana settled into the chair across from his desk while the cubs arranged themselves in a protective semicircle around her feet. Explain what, exactly? The parade. Vexatar gestured with 2 of his arms toward the cubs, who had begun what appeared to be a synchronized grooming routine. Station protocol clearly states that unsupervised alien juveniles are not permitted in restricted areas. These cubs have been following you for 3 days. Actually, Ana corrected, reaching down to scratch behind the ears of the silver-patched cub. They don't follow me. They choose to accompany me. There's a difference. Commander Helen entered the office at that moment, his tall frame having to duck slightly through the doorway designed for more compact species. I've been monitoring the situation, he announced, holding up his datapad. The cub's behavior patterns are unlike anything in our xenobiological databases. Vextar's compound eyes swiveled between the human and the Altarian commander. Enlighten us. Helen activated the holographic display above his datapad. Zephyrian cubs typically remain within a 50-meter radius of their den and show aggressive, territorial behavior toward all non-family entities. These 7 have been accompanying Dr. Rodriguez throughout the station, including areas that should trigger their flight response. They're not following me, Ana repeated, her voice taking on the patient tone she typically reserved for explaining complex theories to first-year academy students. They're making a choice. Humans understand the concept of choice differently than most species. The silver-patched cub looked up at her and made a sound that their translators couldn't interpret, a whistling trill that seemed almost like laughter. Impossible, Vextar declared. Zephyrian cubs operate on instinct. They lack the cognitive development for complex decision-making. Ana smiled, the expression that had gotten her into trouble with xenobiological ethics committees on 7 different worlds. That's where you're wrong. They're not choosing based on instinct, they're choosing based on recognition. She stood slowly, and the cubs immediately shifted position to maintain their protective formation. 3 days ago, when I first encountered them in the station's lower levels, they were trapped behind a collapsed ventilation grate. Station maintenance said it would take 6 hours to cut them free safely. But I noticed something. Helen leaned forward, his natural curiosity overriding his security concerns. What did you observe? The grate wasn't just collapsed, it was deliberately damaged. Someone had tried to contain them, but Zephyrian cubs are natural escape artists. They'd been testing different sections of their prison for weak points. Ana knelt down, and the silver-patched cub immediately approached, allowing her to examine its tiny claws. Look at these tool marks. They weren't just trying to escape randomly, they were problem-solving. Vextar's expression shifted from skepticism to intrigue. Continue. So instead of waiting for maintenance, I sat down and started talking. To them, not at them, to them. I explained what I was going to do, showed them my tools, let them inspect my hands. Anna demonstrated by holding her palm out to each cub in turn, receiving what looked like approving chirps. Within an hour, they had helped me identify the structural weak points. We worked together to create a safe exit. And they've been with you since, Helen observed. Not with me, Anna corrected again. They've been choosing to spend time with me. There's a fundamental difference that most galactic species miss about humans. We don't see other intelligent life as inherently inferior or superior. We see them as different expressions of consciousness worthy of respect. The silver-patched cub suddenly stood on its hind legs, placing its front paws against Anna's knee and chirping in a complex pattern. The other cubs joined in, creating what sounded almost like a song. What are they doing? Vextar asked, his earlier hostility replaced by genuine wonder. Anna's eyes brightened. If I'm right, they're trying to tell you something important. She looked directly at the security chief. The damage to that ventilation grate, it wasn't accidental. Someone on this station is conducting illegal experiments on Zephyrian cubs. These 7 escaped, and they've been trying to lead me back to where the others are being held. The implications hit both officers simultaneously. Helen was already activating his emergency protocols, while Vextar began issuing orders to his security teams. They don't follow me, Anna said one final time, watching as the cubs formed up for what was clearly going to be a rescue mission. They chose me because they recognized something most of the galaxy hasn't figured out yet. Humans don't just save other species because it's profitable or strategically advantageous. We do it because it's right. The silver-patched cub looked up at her with what any human would recognize as determination, then turned toward the door. 6 other cubs fell in beside it, ready to lead the way to their imprisoned family. Commander Helen checked his weapon and nodded to Anna. Lead the way, Doctor. It seems we have some choosing of our own to do. As they left the security office, Anna smiled. In a galaxy where most species operated on hierarchy and dominance, humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their adaptability. It was their ability to recognize that true strength came from choosing to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Behind them, the cub's song echoed through the station corridors, a sound of hope that transcended species barriers and reminded everyone within hearing that sometimes the smallest choices made the biggest difference.